Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cardaholics of all ages, welcome back to Big Al's Cards. Thank you so much for watching. And in today's video, it's going to be a bit more serious of a topic, but I do want to talk about our hobby and the just rampant rise in just straight up gambling. And I think that whether you necessarily think that the hobby is all a gamble or not, I think you would agree that there are things that have become a bit more present in the sports card hobby that definitely increase people's gambling addictions when it comes to this hobby. Because let's be real, I think that there's a lot of aspects of sports cards that are very heavily tied to gambling, that go beyond just opening a pack and hoping you're pulling something like this, right? So obviously in the hobby, just opening a pack, opening a box is a gamble, right? You're opening something and you're hoping that there's going to be a big ticket item, like, you know, you're ripping a box of Chrome Platinum Anniversary Baseball for $30, and you're hoping to pull something like this that could go for upwards of $150, right? So obviously everybody wants that, but that's just one example. I mean, if you're opening a hobby box, it is a form of gambling. You're opening a blaster box, it's a form of gambling because you're spending money hoping to make more money. You're hoping to hit the big ticket. But there are other aspects that I think that people don't think about as gambling. I mean, if you really sit down and think about it, submitting cards for grading is a gamble, right? Let me break it down this way, and I'll use some examples here. I've got this 2022 Bowman George Valera Mint 9. I didn't submit this card. I bought it for like $8. Like, I'm not joking. It was very cheap. And, whoever submitted this card submitted it in hopes that this was going to get a 10 and increase the value. But it got a 9. So I was able to scoop it up for cheap. I have another, what I think is a massive card coming in. That's a PSA 9. And whoever submitted it really wanted it to be a 10, increase the value. And it wasn't. So I got to get it for a good deal. I've had several cards that I've submitted for grading come back as 9s. So I didn't get as much money as I was hoping for, right? It's a gamble. But even within that side of gambling, it's become, I think, more rampant, especially if you watch a lot of, people on YouTube who do submissions to PSA and other grading companies, that if they don't like the grade they get, they literally say, well, I don't agree with this, so I'm going to crack it and resubmit it. It's another form of gambling. You're cracking a grade. Like, if somebody were to buy this Gargano PSA 9 White Sparkle, and they were like, you know what, I think the centering looks better than it actually does. I'm going to crack this open and hope for a 10. What if it comes back an 8? Grading is so subjective that it could very well happen that you don't get the grade that you want, even if you think that it's going to get something better because of how you viewed it, right? You can disagree with a grader's submission all you want to, but even if you were to crack it and resubmit it, what do you think the chances are of getting the grade that you want? Using products to try to get a better grade. Again, it's a gamble because it might not work. But I think that Fanatics taking over specifically, and this is not a knock on them, okay? I know I've been very critical of Fanatics and Topps lately, but I do want to kind of just point out how I think that things are going. I think that they've changed some things that do add to the gambling chase. So, for example, Topps Now autograph cards. You used to be able to just buy the autograph card at the parallel that you wanted, I believe. So I bought a couple of Topps Now autographs, and one of them was an Anthony Rizzo. And I remember, like, you could buy the base, you could buy different colors. I just bought the base auto for like $100, and you can pay 30 more, 40 more, 50 more, whatever, for different color parallels of that card. And it used to be, just a straight, you get what you want, right? But now, if you look at Topps Now, specifically autographs, it's in a mystery pack. And they lump everything together, charge a higher price, and you better hope that you get a low-numbered parallel, or else you're more than likely going to lose money. You have the autographs to 99, 49, 25, 10, 5, 1 of 1, all in one pack, and they charge you a price based on, you know, the out of 25, you better hope that you hit at least an out of 25 to try to make your money back, or else you're going to lose money. And then obviously you have to think of breaking. I mean, good grief, people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to chase after, you know, these big cards in products that they're never going to want to rip themselves because the quote, the gamble's too great. But breaking isn't. Like, it's just, sometimes I hear things like that. I'm like, that's funny because it's still gambling. I just feel like, personally, our hobby is getting a little too close to a glorified casino where you put your money in and you really hope that you get something, but you're probably 9 times out of 10 aren't going to. And I don't want to see people lose money. You know, I have addictive tendencies where if I hit something big, you know, like I talked about it the other day, I hit this Pete Alonso and, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about it. So I'm like, oh man, what if I keep it up? What if I'm really on a hot streak and I open up another 3 blasters and I hit another red auto? What are the chances? Genuinely, when you stop and slow down and think about it, what are the chances? And trust me, I used to hit big cards and I'm like, I want to follow this up. And I'd go buy another blaster and it would be terrible, you know? And I'm like, oh, well, I learned my lesson, you know? But I didn't really, because I would do it again. That's why I don't buy hardly any sealed product these days. I just buy the cards that I want. It's way less addictive. I mean, it's addictive in the sense that I want to get all the single cards of my guys, but it's not like I'm ripping. I'm getting exactly what I want. There's no real pack gamble, if I can put it that way. And like people, even like the speculative nature of cards is such a gamble. You know, Bowman 2024 baseball is coming out this week, and a lot of people are going to be spending big money on prospects. And, you know, I think of guys like Dylan Cruz, who's the Nationals, like one of their top prospects, who's making his debut in this set with his first Bowman. It's going to be an expensive card. And stuff can happen. Chase DeLauder of the Guardians had an amazing spring training, but now he's out with a foot injury, and his cards are going to go down in value a little bit. Jason Dominguez had a huge first Bowman release, and he had to get a major surgery like last fall. He won't be able to play till later this year. I was able to scoop up an orange for $45. Like, it was just, I did not expect to do that because of, but like when you have something like that happen, you want to try to get as much of your money back because it's a gamble, right? Buying cards and hoping that they increase in value is such a gamble as well. And I think that mentality is ultimately, I don't think it's what, how do I put this? I don't want to see more of it. I know it's going to continue because that's just the way that our hobby is going, is ultimately just an unregulated gambling industry, but you get to keep a piece of paper with a dude on it, right? I just think that there are things that we as a hobby could be doing to encourage more responsible collecting, if I can put it that way. And, you know, I'm forever grateful to my wife for forcing us to sit down and to budget. And it's been really, really helpful. You know, I have a limit on what I can spend each month. And I love that because it keeps me in check. It keeps me accountable. I'm not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on cards like a lot of other people are. And it's causing issues. I had an idea for a book. When I feel like it in my free time, I write fiction. And I had an idea about writing a story about a collector who starts collecting in the pandemic and ultimately loses everything because he gets so addicted to things. I just think that our hobby is going in a direction that's a bit more of a casino and less of a real collecting standpoint. You got people who say, oh, this is for my PC, and then they flip it and turn it around and sell it for more money. Or you have these big accounts on Twitter who are just like, man, I can't believe I'm holding this card. It's available. Why'd you buy it? Like, you know, if you're just getting, like, you're not appreciating the card for what it is. And again, I will admit time after time after time that I am of a more old school collecting mentality. I buy a card. I ultimately want to try to keep the card, right? That's just me. I sell cards. You know, if it's not for my PC, I sell it. The Pete Alonso is for sale. It's a gorgeous card, and I think, you know, when I had a different mentality, I probably would have kept it. But I'm like, somebody else could use it. I could use that money to buy more Gargano, to buy more Judge, to buy, you know, whatever. And I just think that ultimately, people in the hobby need to take a step back, look at where we are, and do it's more of a personal evaluation than it is a hobby. I don't think that, you know, we're really going to stop the gambling across the hobby. But what I think that everybody should do personally is sit down, take a look at where you're at, take a look at if you're feeling any kind of addictive tendencies, and make changes. I'm not saying stop collecting, but remember that cards are just that. They're just cards. Nobody wants to lose their family. Nobody wants to lose their financial status over a piece of cardboard. It's not worth it. So I don't know exactly if you want to call this video a call to action, or if you want to call it a warning, or just like an informative video, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like if you're involved in this hobby in some way, shape, or form, I think it's important that you step back, look at your place in this hobby, look at your spending habits, and say, what's going on here? Do I need to make a change? Do I want to get caught up in the wave of gambling? Like, I bought into a couple of breaks specifically for Gargano stuff, and that's how I finished the Rainbow for the Prism. But, you know, I bought into 2 breaks, I missed in 1, and I won in 1. It's a gamble. So what are you doing? What could you be doing better to continue to fuel your love of the hobby without getting so caught up in the chase, the FOMO, the gambling wave that is currently hitting the hobby? Because it's only going to continue to get worse. I don't see anybody in the hobby backing off of these gambling tendencies anytime soon. So, do a personal eval. See where you're at. But let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know your thoughts on the hobby and gambling and everything involved in it in the comments below. Thank you all for listening to my rant. Please leave a like, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos, and until next time, bye-bye.